Good afternoon, everybody. Got a big afternoon special. We don't always do these. Sometimes we do them. We've got someone that we think our audience is going to like. I think you guys are going to like what we have on this afternoon. Mr. Jon Lamb from PowerBand Solutions, just named the CEO of Musa Auto Finance. Going to maybe get into a little background there. I want to hear Jon actually break down the story for us. So buckle up. Jon, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So this is actually the first time that I'm a big time shareholder, big time supporter of PowerBand. They've been an advertising client of the Deep Dive in the past. I believe that we're still on track. This is my first time actually getting to sit down and chat with you. It's fun that we get to do this on the air openly for everyone to sort of see this conversation go down. But let's start at the beginning. Why did you decide to get involved with PowerBand?
Well, I started off as just kind of seeking out platforms that were coming into the marketplace around automotive. My background is in automotive. I invested in Carvana. I looked at a lot of the other SPACs that were coming out with some of the companies who are going public. I've invested in some of the DMS companies in the past. And then as I started to see the evolution of platforms and as I became more aware of what an open marketplace would mean in automotive, I dug a little deeper and I realized that as you study these companies, a lot of them are platforms in such a way, but they're really not marketplaces. So my next quest was to seek a company that I thought could eventually one day be a marketplace. And, I think Lots is the closest thing that's out there right now. And then there's a lot of new incumbents that are coming that are kind of changing their business model and focusing on becoming a platform. But I'm really sure if they grasp what a true marketplace could scale to in automotive, because there's so many transactions that are unaccounted for, especially on the peer-to-peer side. So when I stumbled across PowerBand, initially I was an investor from a shareholder perspective. Then I learned more about the company and started talking with Kelly through a venture firm called Presidio. And I was really kind of lending myself from a marketing and a branding strategy as an advisor, and that's kind of morphed into taking over PowerBand, trying to implement all of these pieces to build a marketplace, and then most recently with the promotion to CEO of Musa. I think it just takes us one step closer to getting this fully integrated, marketplace that we think we're just on the cusp of really starting to scale.
So, how would you describe the actual structure of PowerBand if you're sitting down with potential investors and they say to you, okay, you've got this company out of Dallas called Musa, which you were just named CEO of. Very storied history. They became the first non-captive leasing partner of Tesla. They did so much business with Tesla one weekend that they exhausted their facility. So that's part of the business there. And I believe PowerBand owns 60% or PowerBand US. The structure is a little bit hard to exactly understand. And then we've got drivers. Can you walk me through how the actual structure is set up with the company?
Yeah, so you have to look at drivers as the marketplace. So the drivers is the marketplace. There, all of these business units will eventually come to reside under. They're all necessary in order to build a marketplace that's going to take you out to scale. There's really 5 phases of a platform. We're probably tackling the first 3 phases, which is ideation or launch. Is there a problem? We know there's a problem in automotive. Does it justify a multi-sided marketplace? Absolutely. That's why you're seeing so many of them spring up. It's some incredible valuations and investment coming into it. So we've already established that, right? The second one is, how do you scale that marketplace? Well, we feel that we've already secured partnerships that are going to allow us to scale. And then the third phase of a platform is monetization. Well, Musa, our finance arm, is going to be a huge monetization component of the platform. So from the outside, you say to yourself, well, you've got Drivers Exchange, which is an auction which launched recently. It's currently facilitating peer-to-peer transactions. you have that. Then you have what we call Intellicar and Driver's Lane and some other components that they're building over here on this stack. That's going to be the mechanisms that allows the dealer for the first time to list his inventory to sell customers outside of his PMA at scale. So that's the integration piece between the dealer and the platform, gets them out into the marketplace. Drivers Exchange is the peer-to-peer component that really scales that side of the untouched business, if you will. There's just as many peer-to-peer transactions occurring every day throughout North America as there are dealer-to-consumer transactions and wholesale transactions. It's a large untapped market. There are some players there, but there's no one's really grasped it where you allow two people to sell a car to each other with great ease, transparency, and security, with a financing component included. So we feel like we're really the front runner there. Then you have Musa, which is another company that is kind of going to be active, like our captive, if you will, for our platform. You may have seen recently that TrueCar recently partnered with Navy Federal, and Lots has partnered with Allied. So you're starting to see their monetization plan where they're going to offer financing to consumers, direct to consumer, either through an indirect to direct sales model. I'm sure they're going to still partner with retailers, at least in the TrueCar perspective. But Lots is probably looking to, okay, how do we finance these transactions to expand our footprint with our resale relationships? And when you look at that, it only makes perfect sense that we would have our Musa arm now become Drivers Financial in the very near future, and then become part of the Drivers platform as an entirety. So it on the surface, as you grow through acquisition, if you don't have access to unbelievably cheap capital, and you don't have the ability to issue debt, you're going to grow through acquisition. So you really have to kind of find these pieces that can take you there. We have an excellent. What the great thing is not only is the technology great, but we've got great people that are running each one of these business units. So when we see those opportunities and we see people, hey, listen, I want to be a part of a marketplace and scale, we engage with them, and if we can make a deal that's advantageous for both, relying heavily on the equity position of PowerBand, the traded company. That's the companies that we go after, and that's the ones that we partner with. It may seem convoluted, but in the end, it's going to be an incredibly powerful platform. And for each one of these, every time you see us make a move in the marketplace, or we launch a new segment, or we make a personnel change, it's all going in the direction of having a unified marketplace where people can buy, sell, and finance online. Dealers, consumers, wholesalers, resellers, whatever it may be. If it has a VIN number, we're going to allow you to sell it and finance it on our platform.
Okay, so that kind of brings me to my next question. Is there going to come a point where we look at PowerBand? I presume that in the long run, the company's not going to stay named PowerBand. It sounds like the whole branding's around drivers. But like where myself as a sort of, I'm just a regular guy that's got a wife and 2 kids. I actually got a minivan in the summer. But let's say that I decide I want a second minivan because I like my minivan so much. Will there come a point where whether I'm looking new or used, I'm just going to go to one platform like drivers.com and everything's going to be on it? Or is it still going to stay a little bit segregated where you got like Musa and then Drivers Exchange and then Drivers? Is it going to stay like that, or it'll be sort of like the Amazon, the one-stop shop?
Well, it eventually will turn into the Amazon one-stop shop. But if you're looking for a car this summer, you're probably going to be going to our Drivers Exchange portal, which would eventually morph into Drivers. But for right now, Drivers Exchange is opening into the marketplace. So if it's this summer, it'll be going to driversexchange.com and engaging there as we evolve through Q3, Q4. And we bring on more inventory, launch in more states, or launch in more metros, and you'll start to see us all kind of migrate to this drivers marketplace, if you will. Now, Drivers Exchange, don't forget, is also a physical auction. So there's going to be a large wholesale component to Drivers Exchange that will allow consumers, if they can't fire a buyer for their car, to wholesale their car direct to dealers or other wholesalers. So Drivers Exchange will always be a subcomponent of Drivers, and there's a tremendous demand. In the current marketplace, if you have a vehicle and you have a payoff, you're really restricted on what you can do when you're going to buy your next vehicle. It's hard to find a peer-to-peer transaction situation where the buyer is willing to front you the entire payoff for your vehicle in the hopes that you provide him with a title post-transaction. So that's why a lot of these transactions inherently, the consumer feels forced to go to a dealership to conduct. That's kind of why CarMax really, when they came onto the scene, they gave the consumer an opportunity to sell their car easily and receive funds immediately. So they saw that there was a need where consumers were willing to sell their car and maybe not buy another car, or maybe sell their car to a dealership and wanted to wait 60 days and didn't want to be in a trade situation. So that's exactly what Drivers Exchange allows peer consumers to do. If you put your car out into an open marketplace, if you don't receive the bid that you are looking for, or you don't receive any bids for whatever the reason might be, you still have the opportunity to sell your car to a wholesaler. And with the way the market is right now, you're still going to get a premium for your vehicle because used vehicles are in demand. So we're really that only platform that gives a consumer an open and a transparent buy number, not something that's controlled by one particular wholesaler or one particular auction. So when we put your car out to auction to all wholesalers, we receive various bids, and those bids come back in, and we match the greatest one with the greatest bid with the consumer.
Okay, so let's take some questions here. If any of these questions you're uncomfortable answering, just say for that one.
I think we have a Spanish-speaking person in the house today.
Do you speak Spanish? I don't speak any, so I have no idea what this is.
I do speak Spanish, but I don't know if your audience speaks Spanish, but I can translate it for you.
That'd be great. Basically, this is a first on the show.
If your experience with Hyundai and FinTech, I think it's accident. So I'm an investor in a two-sided market, peer-to-peer lending application named Hyundai. Somebody's been doing their homework here. So I'm an investor in that company. It's a peer-to-peer lending app. And it's asking me, is that beneficial to Musa? But Hyundai, and not in a way it's beneficial to Musa, but my experience with two-sided marketplace and the platforms is going to be beneficial to Musa. I think that's what they're asking. If there's a connection between Hyundai and Musa, is nothing more than a fintech play.
Okay. Let's take a look here. Can you give us an update about CB Auto?
Kelly just signed an agreement with CB Auto on finalizing our payment and equity structure. Just emailed it before I got onto the show. So we're going to definitely start to ramp up those efforts. Now, CB Auto, again, is when you start to think about, the 5 phases of a platform, the second phase is scale. How do you scale? How do you scale effectively and cost effectively? That's CB Auto. They have first-party data. That first-party data gives us a benefit over continually having to conquest. So empirical data, anytime you can get a relationship with a company like CB Auto that's well respected and has a significant amount of empirical data, it's going to be a benefit to us as we go to market. It just lowers our cost of acquisition and our awareness out into the marketplace. We also have started to work with iHeartRadio and some metros to kind of price out and avail the market. We're working with them now in Northwest Arkansas as a test to see, what type of traction we can get through consumers to list their cars online through traditional media. I mean, obviously, as you see, Carvana and Vroom have really ramped up their marketing efforts, and of course, they have the significantly funding behind them to be able to do it. So we have to be a lot more smarter, finite in our efforts, but we think we've got a good plan. So
here's an analogy I like to use, and I'm curious what your thoughts on this analog are, and perhaps the comparison I like to use is might be the largest company by market cap in Canada, which is Shopify. I like to think of sort of what PowerBand's creating as the Shopify for the auto sector. Would that be a fair analog?
It is, and I'm a big fan of Shopify myself. I'm an investor in Shopify, have been for probably 3 months since their IPO. If I held it, I believe in it. I've read a lot of content from the CEO, listened to a lot of his interviews, and I think he completely understands what he's trying to accomplish. And he's very concise in his explanation of it. If you think of Shopify, really what Shopify allows is retailers to scale online. I wouldn't really call Shopify a marketplace because they're providing solutions for individuals to compete inside of either marketplaces or direct-to-consumer channels, right? So we feel that in some ways we are a Shopify through our Intellicar and driver's lane solution. And what that's going to allow the dealer is, the dealer doesn't have to go out there and figure out a new way to integrate with a new marketplace. He doesn't have to worry about, how will he interact with consumers that were on the marketplace and then left and came into the dealership. It's still an integrated sales solution. And that's much like Shopify. So Shopify gives retailers and product developers, if you will, and smaller businesses the opportunity to compete at scale and do it efficiently. They provide the solutions from e-commerce all the way down to consumer management, customer management. And that's exactly what we're going to provide for our marketplace. We know for our marketplace to scale, we have to have a solution that seamlessly connects the dealer and his inventory to our marketplace. And it lets the consumer engage with the dealer directly inside of our marketplace. Just because somebody has an incredible marketplace, consumers, especially in automotive, are still looking to get out and engage with the dealer. And they engage and the dealer is still seeking to engage with the consumer. Matter of fact, their preference is to have the opportunity to engage with the consumer. Because remember, a lot of dealer profitability occurs in service departments and the servicing and the maintaining of the vehicles and the financing of the vehicles. So if a dealer feels that he's been blocked out, like he has been in many of these other platforms, he's not going to be willing to participate and list his inventory. And since we are a supply-driven marketplace, without supply, we'll never scale. So if you think about from supply-side driven marketplace, we need vehicles. Vehicles brings customers. Customers brings transactions. So without the vehicles, we're never going to scale. We could go out and be the best at capturing consumers, but if we don't have a way to get inventory onto our platform, there'll be no transactions. You'll just have a beautiful UI with a lot of people on it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys have a deal with? The name escapes me to get 4.5 million cars on the platform. What's the status on that, and will we see some sort of platform with 4.5 million cars anytime soon?
Yeah, so we have the ability to load inventory into the platform at scale, but again, we're trying to limit it. The first portion of our plan was to say, okay, let's test this consumer to consumer because it doesn't exist right now, and maybe smarter people have tried and failed, but we're unaware of it. So, let's go and see what that takes and what that looks like, because we believe that flooding the platform with inventory and engaging with dealers, we believe it's going to be somewhat simple for us to accomplish. We need to decide if we can really accomplish and efficiently move cars between individuals, especially if there's an outstanding loan on the individual, and the individuals will never actually meet in person. So our first focus on the platform, and it's not a prolonged focus, it's going to be, let's get peer-to-peer right. Let's make sure that consumers can buy and sell and feel comfortable online, because that's 53% of the marketplace. That's the addressable marketplace. If we can accomplish that, and we feel confident that we can do it in all 50 states, we start to scale there. As we're doing that, we've got Intellicar and driver's lanes and all of their employees and staff, and all of our relationships from all of our executives with all inside of all these dealer groups. They're ready to go with loading inventory from a retail perspective. So that's why we've taken this approach of going PP first, and then dealer to consumer, and then it kind of flourishes from there.
So who would be like the top platform for C2C sales right now? Would it be Auto Trader, or are we talking about maybe like, I don't know, do you guys have Kijiji in the States?
No, I mean, Auto Trader is a tremendous aggregator, but that's dealer to consumer, right? So
Okay.
that's it. I have a lot of executive friends at Auto Trader, and I have extensive relationships with them for many years there. But Auto Trader and Cars.com, they really consider themselves marketplaces, and in some ways they are. They are two-sided marketplaces. They're bringing consumers and dealers together, but it takes a lot of integration with proprietary solutions to actually conduct a transaction, and that's not how those businesses were built. Those businesses were built to generate impressions, if you will, and exposure to dealerships' inventory within a certain marketplace with a certain PMA, geographic region, if you will. They do an excellent job at that, right? They've got a lot of eyes.
So the goal is, sorry to interrupt, but the goal is for myself, I'm looking for that minivan. I go on autotrader.com or .ca. Their goal is to get me into a dealership. Is that effectively what you're saying?
They're exposing you to dealer inventory. Now, if you're looking for peer-to-peer type transactions, eBay, a lot of people sell cars on eBay. Some people still sell cars on Craigslist. Offer Up, Let It Go, that recent merger, there was a ton of two-sided transactions peer-to-peer inside of that platform. But now they've really kind of launched their dealer channel as well. So you see a lot of dealer inventory on there. But it's very difficult. I mean, let's say that you and I were buying a car. You're in Canada. And I have an older Corvette that you want that you can't get up there. How do we do this? How do you get it from Miami to Canada? And oh, by the way, Scott, Steve, send me $50,000 and I'm going to send you the title, right? I mean, how do you feel about that? That transaction is probably not going to happen. So, but if you put a platform in the middle and there's confidence there, and you think of our platform as almost like an escrow when you're buying a house, that we hold funds and verify title and deliver title and help you pick up the vehicle on a truck and ensure that throughout the process of arriving at your house, then you start to see, hey, there's a way that two people can buy a car without actually having to meet in a Walmart parking lot.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's take another question here from the audience. Will crypto be involved in this company, because that will allow you to drive more customers, and will 1,000% change the way we purchase cars? Now, I from seeing your Twitter profile, it sounds like you're a fan of crypto. What's your thoughts on getting crypto involved with the overall solution set?
Well, I think it would be fantastic. Now, could we accept crypto as cash payments between two consumers? That would probably be the easiest way that we could incorporate crypto into our platform. Verifying that the transaction between consumers has happened, or we could accept and then transfer out crypto as an intermediary, if you will. Then there's a lot of fees involved in that, the way crypto is set up now. But maybe through a third-party provider like a PayPal or somebody like that, some sort of integration there, I think. Now, you have to keep in mind that we're not actually a direct lender. So unless we capitalize our own portfolio, it would be hard to issue any type of coin against our book at Musa. So that would be a reach. But definitely, I think taking a down payment or a payment in crypto, getting to the point where somebody could probably pay their monthly payment in crypto through one of our loans or our servicing center, that's going to take some time, because you're going to have to convince the bank that now crypto is a new form of a monthly payment. But definitely, I think in the interim, we could take a look at down payments or cash, full cash transactions in the form of crypto and providing an intermediary. It's definitely going to, as more providers, as you see, PayPal now has a way. I believe I saw a press release this morning where you could buy just about anything with crypto through PayPal now. So as that becomes the norm, we can definitely look at integrating it.
So here's a question, Tuve Nord. Somebody asking if you still have the deal in place. Now, my understanding of Tuve Nord, correct me if I'm wrong, they have like inspectors set up for generally heavy machinery type stuff all over North America. And there was a plan originally to start to get them involved in the car inspection process. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. That might have been in place before I've come, but I can tell you we haven't had those discussions recently. We have engaged with a firm that can provide both transport and vehicle inspections. It's called Assertis. It's a very popular solution here down in the States. I'm not sure. I believe they're in Canada, but again, we've been focusing on the States for the recent launch. But we have partnered with Assertis over at Drivers Exchange for transportation and inspection.
Okay, perfect. And what would that look like? Is that going to be like if I'm looking at buying a car? Do I see that inspection report before I start to bid, or does that happen after the transaction?
Well, it depends on how the car comes onto the platform, and we're also going to let the consumer decide. If they're looking to have their vehicle inspected before they put it up for sale. Obviously, it's going to drive up the perceived value of the vehicle if it's been inspected by a professional. Most of the time, these inspections occur at time of pickup or drop off. If you're trading in your car, we're going to pick up your car at that time. We're going to can usually conduct the inspection. And then, of course, if you've bought the car, if you choose to have the car inspected before you take possession of it, it'll occur there. And if it's something that's come through one of our physical auctions that PowerBand Exchange owns, then obviously there's inspection facilities at the physical auction before we go onto the platform.
Okay, getting a few questions on next state to roll out, assuming drivers works out pretty well in Northwest Arkansas. Where are you guys looking to go next?
So you can't really look at it by state. It's kind of like the U.S. election. Populace wins, not landmass. So it's the same way with automotive. You have to look at it by metro. So we would go after and tackle metros. The closest geographic proximity to Northwest Arkansas is probably going to be Dallas and Houston. Obviously, South Florida, where I have a large dealer network. Through my personal relationships, would be another one that's on the radar. Southern California, et cetera. But I would anticipate if things go well in Northwest Arkansas that we're probably looking at getting in Dallas and Houston. Darren Swinson runs that business unit, and he's indicated that he's already started to avail the Dallas and Houston market. So that's probably going to be the next stop.
Okay, got it. So you are now CEO of Musa. Does that mean that you're spending most of your time physically in Dallas, or are you sort of conducting stuff online or remotely?
Yeah, probably 50-50. I just spent the last week and a half in Dallas. Fortunately, it's a direct flight from me here down at home base Miami. Probably spending a significant amount of more time in Dallas. Our business units are really self-sustaining. We've got a lot of people in Southern California. We've got an incredible business operator there, and he still is an equity partner in that business unit. Darren Swinson is extremely proficient at what he's doing up in Northwest Arkansas. And the great thing about that is he's just a stone's throw away from us down here in Dallas. So a lot of mixture. As you know, Canada's still closed down. Our the CEO of PowerBand has been unable to come down and work with us hand in hand. But I assume, when you guys open, there might be some trips up to Toronto, but for the most part, Dallas and South Florida.
Okay. So here's a question. I'm probably going to change this a little bit. But you say that you aren't a direct. How is net revenue generated aside from transaction fees? I suppose if that's not a bad question, how would you answer that?
Yeah, so there's several ways that you will make money as not being a direct lender, right? Obviously there's fees, there's servicing of your portfolio, and then of course, since we're a leasing company, there's the opportunity to resell the vehicles at the end of lease or renew a customer in the same vehicle if you choose to. So there's plenty of avenues, and most credit unions, for example, they're trying to scale their book, so they partner with individual firms like us that they trust, and we have a unique product into the marketplace. So that's why companies, what some people would call us premium finance, if you will, those type of companies exist, and we're one of them. So it's important that people understand that we're not going out and giving loans direct to consumers right now. There is always a retailer involved, a dealer, if you will, and that's going to continue to remain in place. Our goal is not to circumvent the sales channel that exists in the United States right now. Dealers are still very important to that, and they're the suppliers of the vehicles. So we're building a marketplace and financing solutions that complement everything that dealers do now, and really giving the dealer to try the ability to scale through engaging through the marketplace. We have a great product. It's unique. Used car leasing is something that captives currently don't offer to dealerships. As used cars prices accelerate, in terms of loans lengthen, a used car leasing becomes very attractive because for the dealer and consumer, it's mutually beneficial. You're bringing consumer into a shorter term loan, but you're also giving the dealer a chance to really retain that customer. If you give somebody a used car and haven't brought any service contract from your prepaid maintenance, and it's a 72-month loan on a used car, there's a chance the dealer's never going to see that individual again, even though the individual likely is going to trade that car in within 24 to 36 months if they're in an equitable position. Used car leasing takes away that anxiety of being in a non-equitable position and allows the dealer to re-engage with the consumer in a shorter time period than traditional financing.
Okay, so a lot of people are asking this. I don't know if you can give any color on it, but is Jeff Morgan still involved? I presume he still is an investor. Is he still involved in the day-to-day operations? Any comment on?
Yeah, I'm not going to come on to that. Jeff Morgan's, there's something we can't do. We won't be discussing on the show.
Okay, got it. I was just gonna get harassed if I didn't ask. Sorry about that.
No worries.
As a shareholder of the company, what are the next catalysts to look forward to?
Next catalyst is growth at MUSA. MUSA definitely is a very profitable business unit for us. If we can get some metrics around how successful we are at engaging consumers and getting them to put their vehicles online, and of course how well we generate an audience, I think that will be the next big step. Really, once you'll start to see as we really try to scale MUSA and get into some deeper partnerships that are within the sales channels. We bring on some larger groups. And then we start to incorporate product around these relationships, and then get dealers access to our marketplace, allow consumers to go into the marketplace. You'll really start to see some scale there. I recently just came on board with MUSA, so I can't take all the credit. We have a fantastic team, but we're growing at an incremental rate that I've just never seen, and I believe it is sustainable. So, we have a goal this year to get to a set number of originations, and if we get there, and I think it's very achievable, we're going to see some great revenue coming out of MUSA. At the same time, I think that the auction itself, PowerBand Exchange, we're going to really see great numbers coming maybe Q3, Q4. Again, it's still a new concept, and you still have to get it out into the marketplace. But I think Q3, Q4 is when you'll start to see, okay, they've been successful at going to PRP and the marketplace works. And then, as we get into these metros and dealers start to see that people are buying and selling on our platform, and it's another way to list your vehicles at an incredibly low cost to scale, we'll start to roll these onto these metros, and by later, maybe fourth quarter of this year. And then I believe that time we're really starting to become a true marketplace.
Okay. Well, Jon, I appreciate you hopping on here. I know that the shareholders, they really appreciate you taking the time to do this. This is something that for us, we love it too, because big audience in PowerBand. And I get the sense that something big's happening here when you talk about those originations and how you're walking in and you've never seen anything quite like this. It sounds like you've got lots of excitement every morning when you get out of bed to grab your lunchbox and go to work.
Yeah, I'll leave everyone with this. And I get a lot of tweets myself. I get a lot of direct messages. I don't answer them all because some of them are not very favorable. But for the most part, I try to answer the ones that I can and give the honest advice. But I encourage all your investors to go out and really look at the addressable market, and then look at everyone that's involved. All these names that you see that are involved. And then you'll realize that none of them have more than 0.9% or 1.1% of the total addressable market. And this is a $2.2 trillion market. So what we're doing, there's plenty of room for companies like drivers, and there's going to be more. You're going to see more and more conduits for people to be able to buy and sell cars online. We won't be the first, we won't be the last. But the great thing is we own all the pieces to have a fully integrated marketplace and multi-sided. And that's the multi-sided marketplaces are what drives value creation through multi-sided marketplaces and scale and network effects. I think we have everything that's necessary to do that, and that's where you get this incredible value creation. And as an investor, that's what you should be seeking when you're buying stocks or investing in companies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and that's when I first sat down. My story is I sat down with Kelly in December of 2019, and when he described to me what he had, I was just like, wow, like I love investing in companies that are trying to take on massive total addressable markets that actually address that total addressable market, right? Like in small cap and micro cap, we see CEOs all the time talking about the total addressable market. Then you look at what they're doing, it's like, you guys don't really address very much of that market. In this case here, like I don't know if PowerBand or drivers is going to be successful or not, but God help us if you guys are, because the upside is just tremendous.
Well, you can back into the math. If you get 2% of that marketplace,
yeah,
you're. I mean, listen, there's Amazon's at 52, 53%, and then you have everything else. But as I say these names out loud, here are the everything else's: Walmart, Shopify, eBay, on and on and on. You're telling me those companies aren't successful? You're telling me these companies haven't created massive value for their shareholders? Absolutely. It's not one man show in automotive. There's plenty of rooms, and we haven't even started talking about niche. I mean, we think we're well positioned for EV, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you're a niche platform inside of automotive with this addressable market, you're going to create incredible value for your shareholders.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear you saying those names, Amazon, Walmart, Shopify, which like normally when you hear a micro cap or a small cap mention those, you roll your eyes. But if PowerBand is successful, that's what you're trying to be. Now, again, not saying you will be successful. I want to like make it clear here that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving a buy or sell recommendation, but that's the upside that you guys are after. This isn't like going to be some little niche website. This is you guys are either going to scale this thing and it's going to be a huge success, or it's not. Would that be a fair comment?
But yeah, absolutely. So let's bring it down to a more relevant level that we deal with every day. So Carvana, Vroom, Lots, these companies, did they exist 7 years ago? I mean, I think Carvana has the most lineage. That could go back further, the larger retailers, Lithia, AutoNation, right? These companies don't dominate our marketplace like an Amazon does to retail. These companies, they're extremely successful. They're very well run, and they're looking to expand. But again, less than 2%. The biggest player in the space is less than 2%. The Amazon of automotive does not exist. And people say, well, why is that? It's a very convoluted sales process. It's very complicated to sell a car online. There's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of legislation. There's a lot of things that preclude you from just selling vehicles to anyone you want, especially if you're a franchise dealer. There's a lot of products that can't be sold outside of a dealership in that environment. So it's all still new. It's still nascent. So we just need to get out there at 0.5, 0.8, 0.1% one day. I think everybody who got in on us early is going to be very, very well rewarded.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm tremendously long this stock, and I'm very happy that you came on our show, and I'm happy that you're involved with the company, because it's great to see people who wake up in the morning and they're trying to accomplish big things. Because as a shareholder, that's what I want to root for, is companies that have a shot at accomplishing really, really big things, which is what you guys are after. So, Jon, thank you so much for hopping on here and chatting, and I hope you'll come back on as there's more developments.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So that pretty much wraps it up for this afternoon version of SmallCapSteve Live. I just want to say a special thank you to Mr. Jon Lamb for joining us. I'm pretty excited about the prospects. Look, nothing we talk about on here is designed to be financial advice. If you're looking for that sort of thing, go find somebody who's licensed. I'm not. There's no buy or sell recommendations coming from me. That's just a little disclaimer. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the follow, like button, whatever it's called. Smash the like button, the kids say. Subscribe. That's it. It's subscribe. That's what you guys do on YouTube, right? Follow us on Twitter. Twitch us, whatever that is. We're on Twitch. LinkedIn us. What are the kids calling LinkedIn these days? I don't even know. Whatever platform you're watching us on, hit that follow, hit that like button. And we'll be back tomorrow at noon with the great Tim Seymour. I appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. See you tomorrow.